Hi there, this is Al24 News live from Algiers. Coming up next in our news program. France's top diplomat Le Drian called on for an easing of tensions with Algeria during a 2 days official visit to the country. Also coming up, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg demanded that Russia de-escalate its conflict with neighboring Ukraine in a bid to resolve the crisis politically. And finally, Joe Biden makes diplomatic concession to Russia with NATO talks plan as US President wants allies to discuss Moscow's concerns in an attempt to prevent invasion of Ukraine. French Foreign Minister Le Drian visited Algeria, during which he met Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune as well as his Algerian counterpart Lamtan Lamamra in hope of decreasing tensions between the two sides after Macron's statements, which Algeria dealt with firmly and summoned the Algerian ambassador to France as a result.
The President of the Republic, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, on Wednesday received the Minister of Europe and French Foreign Affairs, Jean-Yves Le Drian, in hopes of resolving the misconception between Algeria and France. France was Algeria's first economic partner, succeeding in major deals, but its official position with Algeria differed in the last 2 years, as the political relations between the two countries have witnessed many phases of ambiguity on the French side in dealing with sensitive Algerian issues. French President Emmanuel Macron's statements reported by Le Monde newspaper caused a real diplomatic crisis with Algeria, which led Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune to quickly ban the military airspace for French planes heading to the African coast and summon French ambassador to Paris. At that time, Macron realized his sin and took the initiative to apologize in a statement published by the Élysée, confirming his respect for the Algerian nation, its history and its sovereignty. Algeria, which did not like Macron's move, did not react to the statement of the Élysée, and once again, President Tebboune assured the German newspaper Der Spiegel that he will not be the person who takes the first step, so the message was clear and explicit. In the past months, the French authorities have continued to provoke Algeria, such as reducing the number of visas, handling the memory file, and ignoring the compensation demands for the victims of nuclear explosions. Le Drian came to Algeria then, carrying a number of messages, including letters of apology for what Macron had done to soften the atmosphere, and others to beg Algeria's help in issues to the African coast.
And for more insights regarding this, I'm joined live by Badiz Khanissa, Algerian political and foreign affairs analyst who joins us live from Paris. First, Badiz, do you think that the visit of Foreign Affairs Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian to Algeria is going to ease tense relations between the two countries?
First of all, good evening. Thank you very much for your invitation. Listen, it's a first step initiated by French state, by the way, just to remind the topic and the context. It's, of course, a French attempt to maybe try to unfreeze the relations I would say the diplomatic crisis caused by the irresponsible words given by the French president in the few weeks ago. It's also, I would say, a kind of behavior change coming from the French side. Why? Because simply I would maybe highlight some points, very important points that I assess as very important. The French state pay attention, a very high attention to the relation with the Algerian state. Why? Because actually, for time being, we are living in, I would say, in a region where there are some several challenges to be fulfilled and to be managed, and France alone should not be able to manage that. So the Algeria state actually is considered as, I would say, the key partner or strategic partner. So it means that this approach is explained mainly also for, I would say, geopolitical and geostrategic matters and topics. This is the first thing. Algeria, by the hard work, diplomacy, hard works, and also the military institution recently has shown that she is in the region, I would say, playing the role, the main role of stability actor, I would say the driver or leader of the region by managing and leading all the sensitive issues like the security issues, like the terrorism, the Sahel, Mali, Libya. Sensitive files. That's why I assess actually that Algeria has given a very high signal to the foreign countries, and especially France, that actually the new Algeria, if France
this
wants
is actually
to return to the
leading us to our next question,
Badis, it should be with a new policy
in this case,
where
Badis,
the sovereignty
please.
of the Algeria should be respected.
In this case, Badis, how do you perceive the Algerian-French relations in case current French President Emmanuel Macron will not win the upcoming French presidential elections in 2022?
Well, in the foreign affairs in the world, the rules are simple. The relationship between the countries is related and based on the deep state and I would say state interests, and not related to the people or to the president or something else. So that's why I think, and the last time when it was related to the person, we witnessed a disaster in Libya caused by Nicolas Sarkozy, and even just to remind, from Holland to Emmanuel Macron, they are trying to recover this mistake. So that's why I think that the relation between both states and
thank you so much, Badis
for many reasons.
Apologies, as we are running out of time. You joined us live from Paris, and the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Mr. Ayman bin Abdulrahman, conducts Thursday, a working visit to Tunisia at the head of an important ministerial delegation. This visit, which paves the way for important bilateral interests, comes an affirmation of the quality of Algerian-Tunisian relations and the strength of the bonds that unite the two countries and the peoples. The visit of bin Abdulrahman comes as an embodiment of the common will of the two sides to move bilateral cooperation to promising horizons to achieve common aspirations in various fields. Palestinian activists have launched an online campaign calling for the boycott of a film titled Amira, selected as the Jordanian entry for the Best International Feature Film at the 94th Academy Awards for mocking Palestinian prisoners held in Zionist jails using the hashtag #PullOutAmira. Palestinian and pro-Palestine advocates have called on supporters to boycott the film, arguing that it whitewashes Zionist crimes. The movie Amira follows the life of a 17-year-old Palestinian who was conceived with the smuggled sperm of her father, who is serving a life sentence in a Zionist jail. After her father fails to conceive another child, it is discovered that he is infertile and that Amira's biological father is actually a Zionist officer. Critics have argued that this feeds into Zionist narrative and discounts the suffering of Palestinians and their struggles.
إذا أنت حابب تمام مش هيك؟
لا حبيبتي، هذا القرار برجع بس لوالدتي حبيبتي، هي اللي بتقرره بس.
And to talk more about this, I'm joined live from the eastern province of Algeria, Khenchla, by Dr. Walid Kifali, Associate Professor of Civilization, Cinema Studies and Criticism. In the beginning, Walid, can you tell us more about the movie Amira?
Well, before discussing the outrageous, shameful plot of the film, which offends not only the misery and struggle of the Palestinian prisoners in Zionist slumber, but also insults the sacrifices, the dignity of their families, children, and the entire Palestinian society, you should take a quick glance at the film poster, which features a liberal image of a girl that looks everything but a Palestinian girl. Taking a Christian crucifixion shape as a symbol of the crucifixion and hardship that women undergo in a conservative, majoritarily Muslim society. The film tells the story of Amira, the proud daughter of Palestinian militant in a Zionist prison, who was conceived via a smuggled semen sample of her father, which is the factual case of many Palestinian children who were remotely conceived through the same method. These children, by the way, are called the messengers of freedom. As the plot grows further, and the detained Palestinian father elicits his wife to conceive another child, the same way they have conceived Amira by smuggling sperm out of prison, the reluctant mother approves only later to be revealed that the smuggled sample, which belongs to Amira's father, is sterile, and the real father is unknown, which stains the honor of the father, the fidelity of the wife, and the integrity of the inception mechanism. Under pressure and stigma, the mother Warda reveals that she had cheated on her husband with one of his closest friends, but even then, doctors insisted that Amira was actually conceived from the sample smuggled. So whomever it belongs to, it is the real father. But it is neither Nawar, the detained father, the militant, the Palestinian militant, nor his friend with whom Warda cheated. Finally, the story unfolds as Amira learns that the sample belongs to a Zionist prison guard who had swapped Nawar's sample before it was smuggled out of prison.
Talking now about the scenario itself and here in details, don't you think, Walid, that Arab directors are moving away and siding from the supporting Palestinian cause and depicting the misery of the Palestinians in Zionist prisons in their movies?
Well, speaking about Arab directors, if we understand that the film was shot on 4 locations, Egypt, Emirates, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, three of which engaged in the process of normalization in the past years, the actors chosen carefully, one of the actors which played the militant father, the proud father Nawar, is half Israeli, or Zionist. Unsurprisingly, the film landed 3 awards in the Venice Film Festival when it appeared on the 3rd of September. And it is expected to compete in the 94th Annual Academy Award, the Oscars, for the category of Best Foreign Films, which Jordan has, let's say, just today announced that it will withdraw the film. So here we can safely talk about the normalization, not via politics, but via cinema. And cinema has always been in favor of and in service of Zionism since its inception in the early 20th century. And the Arab directors want to keep pace with their country's politics. So I'm not surprised, but what surprises me is not showing humanity towards those Palestinian prisoners.
Thank you so much, Dr. Walid Kifali, Associate Professor of Civilization, Cinema Studies and Criticism. You joined us live from the eastern province of Algeria, Khenchla. And now moving on to another story, Qasim Al-Araji, the Iraqi National Security Advisor, announced in a tweet that the US-led forces mission has ended in Iraq. The troops will have from now on a training and an advising role. Nabil Khazili.
Iraq's National Security Advisor Qasim Al-Araji announced that the US-led forces has ended their combat mission in Iraq, a move that transfers all remaining troops into a training and advising role. Qasim Al-Araji said in a tweet that the combat mission had ended on schedule ahead of the end of the year and that combat troops were to withdraw. The relationship with the international coalition continues in the areas of training, advising and capacity building, Al-Araji added. US President Joe Biden and Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Qadhimi sealed an agreement in July to formally end the US combat mission in Iraq by the end of 2021. As a result, the mission of around 2,500 American troops stationed in the war-battered country will change as announced by Joe Biden. The US-led military mission focuses on countering the remnants of the so-called ISIS. The beginning of its mission started in 2014 as part of an international effort to defeat the extremist group which had taken over vast areas of Iraq and Syria.
US President Joe Biden confirmed on Wednesday that the United States will not send troops to Ukraine to defend it in light of the increase in Russian military buildup on its eastern border. But he expressed confidence that his warning message has reached the Russian counterpart. Hossein Berkan.
US President Joe Biden said that his country's sending of troops to Ukraine is not on the table amid the escalating crisis between Kiev and Moscow. Joe Biden stated that the duty of the United States to protect NATO allies if they are attacked does not include the Ukraine, because it is not a member of the alliance, and added that such a step would lead to unprecedented severe punitive measures from the United States and its allies against Russia.
That is not on the table. We have a moral obligation and a legal obligation to our NATO allies if they were to attack under Article 5 It's a sacred obligation. That obligation does not extend to NATO, to Ukraine, but it would depend upon what the rest of the NATO countries were willing to do as well. But the idea the United States is going to unilaterally use force to confront Russia invading Ukraine is not in the cards right now. But what will happen is there will be severe consequences that will have.
For its part, Vladimir Putin revealed that Moscow will present its proposals for a security dialogue with Washington next week, denying the existence of any aggressive intentions by Russia, which will not remain indifferent about the possible expansion of NATO towards its limits.
Yes, we did talk about regional issues, talked about the conflict in southeastern Ukraine, and another very sensitive topic related to this situation, namely the expansion of the NATO bloc to the east, including at the expense of Ukraine. This is one of the key issues of ensuring Russia's security in the medium and even strategic perspective. We talk about this constantly, publicly, and warn our partners that this is unacceptable for us.
It is noteworthy that NATO expansion east is considered as a threat and a red line by the Kremlin, and that Russia is negotiating legally binding deal with the West to stop this expansion.
And finally, by the end of this year, Russia and the United States will hold a new round of talks to resolve a row over diplomatic staffing at the embassies amid tit-for-tat expulsions and other restrictions imposed as bilateral relations have fallen to their lowest since the end of the Cold War. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.